either way, you went out and traded multiple draft picks. That's that, like, in a way, that's his guy. I know Jaden Daniels really is who his career is going to be tethered to, he being Adam Peters. But by making a move in a way of that magnitude, when you have the quarterback, you now go and get that premier position, and you got the number one guy, the PFF grade on pressures and whatever else. He's number one. It's not just that he is a good player at a prime position. He's the best statistically. And not only is he the best, and you gave up those picks to get him, you've already gone through this with McLaurin. You've already dealt with it. So you, again, the obvious is this is exactly what should be happening. Pay the man his money. Cue the John Malkovich soundbite from Rounders. Pay him his money. Pay him. I'm Eddie. He's Mike. Let's get it. What are we going to do with the 7th pick? Is drafting Jeremiah Love irresponsible or simply irresistible? We also need to talk about free agents. We need some. There's some out there. We got to find the right ones. Who do we pick up and why? All right. Then we're going to move to let's talk for real. We already had this thing with Terry McLaurin. We might be dealing with something with Laremy Tunsil. We're going to talk about it. And then we're going to talk some NBA. So that's what we got right now. Maybe a little Bullets Bieber as well. I know in the free agency, it's going to be some big names and a Bama to be named later. So we're going to start it off with that draft talk. Michelangelo, what are we thinking here? Potentially drafting an offensive player with so many defensive needs.
I say I'll refer to what Dan Quinn said a couple of weeks ago. He said with that 7th pick, you either want to have someone that can put points on the board or keep points off the board. So I feel like at this time, it really doesn't matter. Well, let me say this. It does matter who they select. But if they do draft Jeremiah Love, the running back, if they do draft Carnell Tate, the wide receiver, over any of the defensive players that are remaining, because remember, they have the 7th pick. So there's a lot of defensive players that's getting taken off the board. David Bailey, the edge from Texas A&M, I believe, he won't be there most likely. Arvell Reese, the defensive versatility piece from Ohio State, he might not be there. Sonny Styles, he probably was going to be there, but he had a great combine performance.
Yeah, he did.
Him and his little, big brother, I'm sorry, had a great combine performance.
Big brother.
Right. He probably won't be there anymore, man. So with that being said, if they do lose a lot of the possibilities, like those top 3 defensive players, if they do go off the board fast, then they may have to be forced to take a best offensive player available because it may be the highest player on their board. I know running back isn't the highest value pick anymore. I know wide receiver. I know the most aren't. Like, LE was killing me last night on Commander's Classified when I was talking, when E and I were talking about Carnell Tate. Like, he is not the biggest fan of Tate, and I get it. However, if their board has these 2 offensive players at the top and all the defensive players are gone, they'll be foolish to draft someone that aren't as high on their board as we want them to be because the defense is so trash.
Yeah, a lot to jump into there. I'm all for taking best player available. I guess for me, it's one of those things, and I'm gonna kind of set myself up to have my argument used against me. I know, but this whole bit about like, well, we have this love fever. I don't know what word to use, but it just, at least the media that I'm consuming, it seems like that's like the big thing now. Like, well, should we get Jeremiah Love and pair him with Jaden, and he's a game changer, and he could be the next Saquon or Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs. It's too bad there wasn't a third name there because I was on a roll. Saquon and Bijan, and then you know what I mean? Da 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 da. I was doing my Migos thing. Anyway,
It's Ashton.
Ashton Jen. Well, but that's also a decent example too, because look at how great he was, and no disrespect to the Raiders, but at the same time, like he fell and the Raiders picked him, and I firmly, excuse me, believe that in the right situation he could be a pivotal piece to the team. But that team would need to be far better built than the way the Raiders are. And I think we are built better than the Raiders are. I don't know how much of the far. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I guess again, we don't know what he's going to be, and that's my whole argument. I don't know that he's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson or Saquon Barkley or Ashton Genty, who, by the way, I think is going to be a very good NFL player. He, you know,
Right.
I kind of hinted at the Raiders' woes and struggles, which become afforded to him as being part of that team now. But I think he still showed just how talented he is, and maybe Jeremiah Love's the same way and we bring him in and he lights it up. I guess it's really hard for me to do something like that when we have so many defensive needs. Now, again, any of those players we pick with that seventh pick at a defensive position, whether it's a Sonny Styles or a Arvell Reese, like you mentioned, or even guys that didn't go to Ohio State, we don't know if they're going to pan out either. But it just, to me, it seems like it would be more prudent. I think the one thing we do have at our advantage, which you kind of already talked just a little bit on, being at the seventh pick, there's like, I think eight, I can't remember all the names, but there's about eight guys that are really kind of wowing it. It probably maybe down to seven because of the news with Caleb Downs. I think it was a meniscus and a
a degenerative ACL, I believe.
That's the part that worried me more. Don't get me wrong, like any kind of issue with your knee when you play a sport like football, especially when you're coming into the league with that kind of injury, is never good. But I would feel like just some sort of like meniscus issue, which, by the way, I don't know, that it hasn't been divulged as whether or not he was trying to get away with this, like not get away with, but you know what I mean? Like,
apparently he is looking for a second opinion. So
well,
good
and
for him. He needs it like really, really bad. He needs
sure it definitely could change the amount of commas and zeros on his paycheck. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what I was hinting at is I'm not being naive, like, oh, he didn't even know he was hurt. But I also feel like, was he that hurt? If I mean, I assume this isn't new. You know what I mean? So
Right.
he played with it, and he played to that level that got him the sort of interest and intrigue to being drafted as high as he could have. He built his stock up, and I don't know when that injury occurred, or like I said, if he knew it or not. I'm not being naive. I would assume he did, but that's just my point. But it's the degenerate part anyway was what worried me more. I feel like the meniscus could be fixed, but if you got something like that, I don't know.
So I'm gonna ask you this question, and we already talked about Jeremiah Love, but take the name, take the school away. I'm gonna ask you. We know who these players are, but I feel like we will be in this situation come April 22nd, 3rd, April 23rd, first round of the NFL draft. I believe we'll be in a situation. Do you want to take the running back that can put points on the board, that pairs well with Jayden Daniels, that can catch passes out the field? May not be Christian McCaffrey, but he can catch passes out the field. He does read well. He does have the maneuverability. He does have the wiggle. He does have a bit of a power to his game. Do you take that, or do you take an edge? Even though physically he may be limited, he has shown the ability to take over games. He does have a high motor. He is a great fit for your potential defensive scheme. Do you take the edge player that can help keep points off the board, or do you take the running back that can put points on the board? I think that's the situation Washington is going to be in. And I'm going to put that question to you.
Okay, so short answer, I guess when we put it like that, I wouldn't mind going running back, but I would prefer the edge just because we're just so needy, and I think it's really hard to say what's right, not just because we don't know the future, but then also factoring in what we do in free agency will also affect what we do in the draft.
Exactly.
And so, in a way, that one of the reasons I'm not as big on Jeremiah Love is I would like to invest more in our O line. And then I also look at
Interesting.
we just got rid of Biotish, and I don't know what we're gonna, are we gonna go and spend big for that guy out of Baltimore that just
No, because they already
they're gonna move
extended
uh
Allegretti,
Allegretti?
and
Like a
reportedly,
lateral move, and you ended up having to
is
pay.
it because reportedly, like, and they could be trying to clean this up or make it better or whatever, but
I
I
think it
don't
was
I
hype.
don't think I don't think John Kime would like he would sell us like this. But
I know that's your guy.
he mentioned a couple of times like that Allegretti, the drop off between Allegretti and Biotis at center wasn't like super noticeable, if at all. And you got to remember, they're about to start playing under center more. So you're going to need a center that can be a bit more strong. And I'm not going to hold you. If there was problems on the offensive line last season, it was the middle of the offensive line where that's where a lot of the pressure came. And I don't think it was because of Cosme or Chris Paul, because both of them had decent seasons. And it's not that Allegretti had a bad season. It's just that noticeably, and I'm not saying that because he's no longer on the team. We could pull the tape. I'm just saying, like, through the middle of the defense, through the middle of the offensive line is where a lot of the pressure came. And when Allegretti was there, like, it subsided a bit. I'm just keeping it a buck.
Got you. And maybe you're right. I've heard those same reports. My thing is just like they're making around the same amount of money, but by cutting Biotish, like that's dead money now. Like they owe that to him. Like this wasn't like a massive.
Apparently, they saved like $2 million on the cap
Yeah, but
space.
that's what I
Like
mean. I don't know that the juice was worth the squeeze on that. But then maybe there's something they knew. This was like one of those Andy Reid kind of things or Bill Belichick kind of things where you get rid of the player earlier rather than later. No problem there. Yeah, I get it. I don't mind the weapon, but I would definitely prefer that we go linebacker, D line, another DB, a ton of different guys running great 40 times. So again, short answer, I'm going edge just because I think we need it. I think that's equally game changing. When you have, don't get me wrong, it's not like there's Lawrence Taylor's and Myles Garrett's and Micah Parsons, just a dime a dozen. But when you have guys like that, Reggie White, when you have those guys like that, they are a game changer. They do make a difference. They make a huge difference. I don't want to like do a stretch, but just bringing up the fact that he said he wasn't going to win a championship in Dallas. My man Lawrence went to Seattle. What happened there? I'm not saying he's a game changer on their level, but they did need pass rush. They needed assistance. Not that
he picked Seattle over Washington.
Yeah, well, there you go. And point being, like that dude was a difference maker. Now they had other pieces and everything else, but still, when you have a position like that, it's a difference maker. But I'm gonna throw a not a dark horse because I don't know that 7 might be really high, but with Kyle Pitts being franchise tagged and the fact that we would have to spend so much money to get him, which I don't exactly want to do, and I don't know what's going to happen with Isaiah Likely. I would like to go after the Oregon tight end, Sadiq. I think maybe his last name is Sadiq. I can't remember. One of those. You saw the post I shared talking about Al Davis and all those 40 times. All these guys are running damn near 4.2s now, which is just crazy to think.
It was historically the fastest 40-yard dash in combine history. Every position was the fastest ever in their position since 2012, except for quarterback. It was the second fastest ever.
Yeah. Hey, I believe it. I mean, you had
They
a
were
lineman,
flying.
D lineman, obviously, the skill positions, DB, running back, receiver, but that Sadiq guy was in there. I can't remember what his time was, but it was in the
It
four
was a
three.
4.6.
Yeah. So anyway, I would love to go after that guy. Why not? I mean, you know, I don't know what we're going to get out of Bates and Senate, and I'm not disrespecting him, but I mean, that he adds to the offense. And when you got speed at that kind of position, especially in today's NFL with the rules and everything, that would open things up for Terry. Plus, we I would like I don't know that he's going to be like a 30, carry bell cow type of running back, but I want to see us give Bill like a true look, like not just for one game, two games, or like, on and off. I want to see us like let's commit. Let him cook. Obviously bring some other guys in, give him a spell here and there. But let's commit. And then, we build from there. But
Oh,
if we're not going tight end or O line, I very much, you know, go any of the positions of need on defense. Because, like I was saying earlier before I started talking about downs and the injury and all that nonsense, not nonsense, I'm sorry, but just all that stuff. Uh, there's like 7 to 8 guys, and you
mhm.
just the same as any other draft, one or two of those guys is going to fall because of a stupid reason or because, if a team's already got a quarterback, they're not drafting a quarterback. Same goes for other positions. So we're going to get somebody.
I hope it's Reese.
I
I
would
hope
be
Reese
totally fine.
going
That
there
dude,
fall.
I watch
Or
and
Bailey. I want Reese or Bailey to fall to 7.
is Reese the one that there's like some questions about the wingspan? Or is that Gaines or Baines or
Oh,
something like that?
Bain, yeah, Ruben Bain, and that was the
Ruben Baines is the one with the wingspan.
second mystery player I was telling you about. It was Ruben Bain versus Jeremiah Love. Ruben Bain, like you said, his arms measured short at the combine. Arguably one of the shortest measurements ever. I think it was 30 inches, 5/7 of an inch. So 30 and 5/7 inches. Um, I like his motor though, and I really think in today's NFL, like motor plus scheme plus skill is going to take you really, really far. And I just feel like in Durante Jones' defense, he'll be okay. However, it's something that you mentioned earlier, and we're kind of transitioning to the next topic.
Let's do
And
it.
I'm so glad that you said it. Free agency is going to alter the draft board tremendously. Like whatever we're talking about now, by the time y'all see us next week, it's going to be a completely different story. Like a completely different story. I So let's start with edge because it's obviously the biggest need, honestly. Coincidentally, I mean, I hit all them leads on y'all, but they re-signed Dedrick Weiss today. Like, I'm so glad that they did that because he played really good before his injury last year. I'm sorry, really well before his injury last year. Sorry, Miss Hicks. Um, I like him. Like I'm glad they re-signed him. I'm really, really glad they signed him back. And remember, before the show, I was telling you you were going to say who when I said we re-signed someone.
Who is this Bama?
Shy Tuttle, defensive lineman. The Redskins, the Commanders reached an agreement 1 year today, and they prevented Shy Tuttle from hitting free agency. Good for Shy Tuttle. And at edge, bro, there are a few pieces I think they can go at edge. And if they happen to pick up one of these players, I'm good with it. The top two that come to mind, at least for me, are Jalen Phillips of the Philadelphia Eagles, who, while his sack numbers were low, he pressured the quarterback pretty well. I think it was second according to PFF. Like, yeah, pressure on the quarterback is just as good as a sack. And if
Yeah, that's what
he's
I'm
doing
saying.
that. And the other Bama, Udafe Owe. I believe he is of the Chargers, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens. One of those two players, I just feel like they'll be good. Like adding one of those two edge players will be good. And if you do that, it eliminates the need or the dire want to draft the edge player at 7. So at edge, how you're feeling about those two players, or I'm gonna throw Trey Hendrickson out there. You can spend a lot on him for maybe a 1 or 2 year rental, or I'm gonna throw this out at you. Sources say that we are attempting to trade for Max Crosby, and so far that our first deal of a first rounder and a third rounder was quickly rejected by the Oakland Raiders. So I threw 4 player names at you: Jalen Phillips of the Eagles, Udafe Owe from the Chargers, Trey Henderson of the Bengals, and Max Crosby of the Raiders. Any of those interest you?
Crosby, 100%. I just don't know if we'd have to give up too much to get him. But I would definitely be in on Crosby. So look, hey, some sort of fantasy land here. I don't know that we'd be able to have our 7th pick to take Jeremiah Love, but in some sort of crazy world where we get Crosby and draft Jeremiah Love, I like that. I'll do that. I just don't know that
I'm glad you mentioned running back. Let me offer you this. There are running backs available in free agency. I think there are 2 that'll actually pair well with this team. Can I interest you in former Atlanta Atlanta Falcons running back, Tyler Algier, or former NFC mate, Carolina Panther, Rico Dowd? Can I offer you one of those?
So I'd need a list to see everybody that's out there, but I'll tell you somebody that I wouldn't mind throwing out just because you'd have a guy who's of similar build to Bill, similar playing style, so the offense doesn't need to change. Same as like doing Mariota and Daniels kind of thing. There is I think it's Rashad White, the dude from
yes,
I think
from
he's
the Buccaneers,
and he's got experience. You know what I mean? So we're not asking him to come in and be the lead guy. You know, maybe like a 60-40 kind of split with Bill, something like that. But I understand if you wanted to get like a bruiser, like a bigger guy, to kind of do the thunder and lightning thing. So
I offered you PFF's coincidentally 1, 2, 3. I offered you PFF's 4th and 5th best free agent running back. Their second best choice has already been tagged by the New York Jets, which means their first and third choice are still free agencies. Can I offer you Travis Etienne Jr., or would you would you willing to spend some money on the reigning, defending Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker?
I think there's a little bit of a injury history with Walker. I know he had a good season this year and he definitely balled out in the Super Bowl. And you see a guy like that that can move and has like smooth, like good hands. Like he catches well out of the backfield, which like can maybe almost surprise you. There's a lot to like there. There's definitely a lot of positives, but I would say probably not on Walker. Etienne, maybe even more so on the injury because I feel like, especially earlier in his career, there was some injury history there. But I also like, I don't know how else to say it. I mean, well, there's no really other way to say it. I feel like Jacksonville used him a lot the last couple of years.
Mm.
I feel like he's got a lot of mileage already.
I would say, are you saying damaged goods?
Not damage, but it's just you can only do it for so long. It's a proven thing. Adrian Peterson is a ridiculous exception. You know what I mean? Like the exception is the simple like because it doesn't happen. He's the only time it's really happened. You had some other guys who have lasted, but they're not playing, to that extent. I'll throw a guy out there I wouldn't mind, and I'm gonna steal from like the Junkies. And I don't think Grant and Danny talked about it. I'm almost positive the Junkies were talking about this though. Kenneth Gainwell for the guy who played for Pittsburgh. Because
Yeah,
you
I
can.
wouldn't mind that to replace Eckler.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean too. Like he can be you know, he can start if you need him to. You line him up at receiver. He can do some returning for you. I mean, I get that like Lane and you have some other priorities when it comes to some of those things I mentioned. But what I'm saying is because injuries happen, you have a guy who can kind of fill in at a variety in a number of those needs. So that's just another suggestion. They have a plan. It's just we don't know what it is.
So I'll end this segment real quick on free agencies. Sorry, free agency. I'll say I'm gonna throw 5 names at you
Gotcha.
and say that Washington can sign two out of the 2 out of 6. I'm gonna throw 6 names at you and
Gotcha.
say Washington can sign 2 out of 6. These names are wide receiver Jawan Jennings, wide receiver Mike Evans, newly available wide receiver Stephon Diggs, tight end Isaiah Likely, tight end David Njoku, and tight end Chigoziem Okonkwo from the Tennessee Titans. And I'll say this. You can't sign Likely and Evans. You can't sign both of them.
Okay.
So go ahead. I'll let you finish from there.
I'll go with the Maryland tight end Chico, and I'll go Mike Evans. Just based on the group you said. Just based on the group you said. I wouldn't mind Isaiah Likely, although something was brought to my attention, and I don't know if it's a development thing or whatever, but he's obviously, kind of got that like LeBron thing. He's gigantic, but he can move. Most people that big aren't able to move like that. There's a give and take when it comes to size often. But it didn't seem like they ran a lot. They did run a lot of double tight end, but at the same time, it seemed like they didn't. I didn't see him like with his hand in the ground doing a lot of blocking. It just seemed like they kind of did like some Jimmy Graham stuff, like just move him out wide a lot as just a tight end playing wide receiver. Or you know what I mean? And I'm not saying he can't do it. And trust me, as much as I watch a ton of sports, I did not watch every snap of every Baltimore Ravens game. Maybe he did put his hand down a lineup and do some run blocking. I would assume he at least did a little bit. But what I'm saying is,
I mean, why?
you would
It's
think,
fine.
well, from a strategic standpoint, would you not like for your tight end to be able to block? Therefore, the other team doesn't know when they're out there. Like the element of surprise is that much more prevalent because, again, like if I'm only a receiver, whenever I come on the field, you would have to imagine it's a pass play, right? So if you're doing both, and again, same thing as what I mentioned, and Adrian Peterson being the exception, there's not a ton of guys that can be a Shannon Sharp, a Gronkowski, a Kelsey, I don't know, Tony Gonzalez, those guys that can catch and block well. Gates, you can maybe even throw in there a little bit too. The every down tight end is kind of the new every down running back. Like we're getting into the age of specialist, you know, and in some ways, based on his age, and Mike Evans kind of becomes your de facto goal line fade and deep threat only. So, like if in a perfect world, we would draft that Sadiq guy. We would sign Shaheed for decent contract, and then we're cooking, man. You got Terry, you got Lane, and then you got Shaheed, you got the Sadiq kid from Oregon. If he can figure it
You
out
playing Madden on these folks, bro.
with
Just
all that
trying to get the
speed,
fastest Bama's.
just win,
You think
baby.
you think Mike McDonald signed with us? That's what you think happened.
Yep,
Pretty
just win,
much.
baby. Like the
Speaking
ground
of
ball.
Miami, speaking of former Miami personnel, Laremy Tunsil looks to be in for a big payday this offseason. And I know some are like, well, we just went through this last year with Terry McLaurin.
We did.
I ain't trying to go through this all over again. I ain't trying to have no press conference at Eastern Motor commercials and all that stuff.
So
Well,
so
good
done.
news is I don't think you're gonna have that possible. I don't think that's likely. First of all, Tons was his own representation. He's his own agent. Secondly, Peters and Quinn already said they're talking already. At this time last season, the Commanders and Terry's representation has not talked or had not talked. I'm sorry. So on those two fronts alone, I'm like, this deal is going to get done. Now, will it get done as quickly as we like it to? I doubt it. That just seems to happen with this team, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, more often than not, when this team has someone in their sight, they usually track them down and take them out. I think one time Eddie Royal was like locked in, and apparently somebody ran their mouth too much, and he ended up signing with the Bears, I think, I forgot who it was, but they offered him more money than Washington and was willing to pay, and that was that. But for the most part, negotiating with the player directly, I don't see this taking too long. And I'm also going to keep it a buck. You can take this as shade towards Terry if you want, but we're talking about a premier left tackle versus a tier 2 wide receiver. And I love Terry, and I'm glad he's here, and I can't wait to see him in 2026. I got him on my favorite dynasty team. I traded him. I hustled somebody. I traded Jacoby Brissett for Terry McLaurin because I knew next year I was going.
I swindled them so good.
Okay, no, check the sidebar real quick, and I don't mean to like burn time, but it was Kyler Murray had got benched or had got ruled out for the season like minutes after I had picked up Jacoby Brissett. And no, I'm sorry. Somebody had just traded for Kyler Murray. And when that trade went down, I picked up Jacoby Brissett. And then like an hour or two later, they ruled Kyler Murray out for the season. So the person that had just traded for Kyler Murray ended up trading for Jacoby Brissett. And that's how I got Terry McLaurin out of the deal. I think I gave up Brissett in like a 3rd round draft pick, which is hit and miss in Dynasty for Terry McLaurin. And that's a W because Brissett is not starting entering the season. And yeah. So anyway, I said all that to say,
Well,
for as valuable as McLaurin may be, he's not a left tackle in his prime, rather it be the end of the prime or not. It's still prime season for Laremy Tunsil, and I expected to get it done. And with all that said, bro, like, what are you feeling? Are you as optimistic as I, or you
yeah,
like
I'm
that's
gonna go
trash?
ahead and just beat a dead horse. I mean, you said a lot of it, but I think when you put some of the things I'm putting into perspective, it just would add that much more of an emphasis. I mean, sure, the obvious one is we went through this with Terry last year. Yeah, of course. But then let's go a little deeper. You inherited Terry McLaurin. Not to say that
True,
not to
that's
say
true.
Peters doesn't like Terry, but you inherited him. You as a general manager, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if the Bobby Wagner signing was first. I couldn't tell you which came first, but I'm pretty sure the Tunsil trade was one of the first things they did. Getting as Peters
Oh, you mean last off season?
yeah, like that's his first, you know what I mean? Like,
Debo trade was first,
okay. Either
yeah,
way,
and
that
then the
that was
Tunsil
the big
trade
move
happened.
though. You traded a
Yeah,
first round, maybe more than one first round. Was it two first rounders? I can't remember.
for
For
Tunsil,
yeah.
no, it was no first rounders. It was I believe 2 second rounders and a fourth round swap or
Okay.
something like that.
Either way, you went out and traded multiple draft picks. That's that like in a way that's his guy. I know Jaden Daniels really is who his career is going to be tethered to, he being Adam Peters, but by making a move in a way of that magnitude, when you have the quarterback, you now go and get that premier position, and you got the number one guy, the PFF grade on pressures and whatever else. He's number one. It's not just that he is a good player at a prime position. He's the best statistically, and not only is he the best, and you gave up those picks to get him, you've already gone through this with McLaurin. You've already dealt with it. So you again, the obvious is this is exactly what should be happening. Pay the man his money. Cue the John Malkovich soundbite from Rounders. Pay him his money. Pay him. You need him ready to go at camp. You want him happy. You don't want Terry being asked how he feels about this, let alone any other players having to deal with the drama and answer questions that of course they're going to say, "Yeah, we want him here, but we're not the agent, we're not the organization. We just let them handle that." They don't even want to say that crap. So just, like get it done. Everybody's happy. You can focus on, the draft, free agency, whatever else. But he should have been signed like yesterday, straight up.
True, true.
Kyler,
Um,
by the way, is no longer an Arizona Cardinal. They are releasing him.
yeah, that's I wouldn't say it's crazy, but it's kind of crazy.
I mean, his last good
Uh,
year, I think, was like 5 years ago. It was during COVID.
mm, I don't know.
I'm not saying he was bad, but the between the injuries and stuff, his last good statistical year was like 2020, 2021.
Mm, I guess. Um, Last topic, and let's like blend the topics together. Uh,
Sure.
Monday night, bro. I'm watching wrestling. I didn't even know the Wizards were playing. Monday Night Raw joint was lit. Check out the ending if you haven't already. Very, very interesting stuff. Uh, Nevertheless,
Somebody got hit with a chair.
no, just
Hit man. Good.
Bama's talking reckless, talking real reckless. Because when I watch Raw and SmackDown and all that stuff, I'm not really like the wrestling, the actual wrestling. It's the secondary part. Like these are like weekly television shows to me. The way your grandmother and your auntie watch Young and the Restless and Bold and Beautiful. I kind of follow wrestling the same way. Is it have I done in my entire life? No, but anyway, I'm so much digressing off the original topic. I get my phone notification and that joint say Trae Young ejected in the game on Monday, and I'm like, I know that he's returning Thursday, but what? So you eventually see the video and you see what happened. I'm in street clothes, still getting ejected. But that's a side story to the main course that he will be debuting on Thursday at home versus the Utah Jazz. And I don't know, bro. I'm kind of intrigued to see him play, but I'd rather not win too many more games. And I know a lot of y'all are like, oh, it's Trae Young, and he's not going to lead the team to that many more wins. Well, an extra 2, 3 more wins this season can cost us a first round draft pick, and I'd rather not put us in that position. So, what are you thinking, bro? Trae Young starting on Thursday night. Are you happy? Are you not happy? What are you expecting to see? What do you want to see? Not what do you don't want to see?
Well,
Yeah, just your overall thoughts on the whole shebang bang.
so it's not that. Listen, I don't want to give up a first round pick either, but I mean, we play to win. You know what I mean? Like you're not playing like. So here's where I'm at. I'm coming from a different take. I'm not over here like rooting. Like hey, I just want us to win no matter what. Because I mean, I do, and I think everybody does, but I don't think he's just gonna come out and like have like full freedom, the reins being taken off and him just getting to, I don't think they're going to cut him loose. I think he's going to be on a minutes restriction thing. I think he'll maybe get us like a little 10 to 15 points, maybe 4 or 5 assists, maybe a little bit more than that.
Okay.
But this is kind of one of those things, uh, maybe almost, granted, Trae Young doesn't have a championship the way Jason Worth won one with Philly before we brought him in. But I would liken this to like the way the Nationals brought in Jason Worth to try to start showing like, hey, we're willing to spend some money. We're kind of building a team here. Like we're trying to kind of take the next steps. I think that's what the Wizards are doing. That's why when I was reaching out to you, it's that old like 70s ish kind of time period when the Bullets, the Wizards used to be the Bullets, and they had a song, Bullets Fever. We got Bullets Fever. It almost sounded like like a jingle for like toothpaste or something. Um, but anywho, that's why I was kind of texting you with that sort of being the theme for the segment, because you see Trae getting fired up defending his teammates. I think it was like a cheap shot kind of towards Alex Sarr, and
Yeah.
that's what Trae Young was getting fired up about. So it, with the Jason Worth comp that I mentioned, I'm likening that a little bit just to the fact that we're bringing in someone who's good, same him and Davis. I mentioned this before with the mentoring and things that are kind of in that facet of the game. And I think him showing some passion and some emotion, trying to get his team fired up, is going to maybe reinvigorate some of these young guys. You'll obviously move some pieces around. Maybe Bub and Trey are more of coming off the bench guys. At least one of them is probably going to have to be. And so that could, in a way, mean more minutes, because what we've done is we're, I don't want to say tanking the right way, but what we're doing is we're playing our young guys. Yes, we are sacrificing wins, but it's under the guys that these guys are going to get experience and our team is going to grow. I really think Keyshawn George is going to be something special. He was
Yeah, I like him.
Kevin Durant after the game, and Kevin Durant was actually willing to like talk to him, give him pointers. I don't want to like get too carried away on, Kevin Durant's character and whatever else, but I don't know that he's doing that with everybody. I would imagine that maybe again, I'm reaching just a bit, but these guys all watch each other. They scout each other. If you're going to play against this guy and that, maybe he's seen Keyshawn George play, and he's had a few notable games this season. Maybe he's seen him play and was like, all right, I'll talk to you. I'll give you, and that my understanding was they're of similar size, and I guess George asking KD like just some pointers on just like playing when you're that big, but you sort of play as more of a perimeter player. Anywho, I'm getting carried away and focused on one small aspect of it. But when you have guys like George, like Alex Sarr, like Carrington, like even Will Riley, who I think has shown to kind of
Yeah, that's my
actually
man.
off the bench. Him and that guy Hardy too. They're both like microwaves for us. They come off the bench,
Yeah,
energy and everything. So when you have all these guys I mentioned with all this talent, all this, it's like the Infinity Stones, and we're trying to find. I don't know if Trae Young and Anthony Davis are going to form the gauntlet so that they can harness the stones. I don't know if that's what it's going to be. If you guys are catching my analogies there, but we need somebody to kind of that's what it needs to be. We need some vets to come in to kind of help, sort of corral and guide these young guys and almost like they play off of each other and they win. I mean, you look at any team, they're going to be comprised of some talent for sure. Definitely veterans. Those would be a lot of your starters and maybe your go-to guys. But you can't tell me that those teams aren't going to equally have like some guys that are on there maybe second or third year or whatever that are equally contributing. And in some cases, are one of the main contributors. So, I mean, that's all I got. I'll leave this one little nugget. Adam Peters, just to kind of bounce back and forth here, he said something of the same nature. Like, as we look at our roster, and while I would argue that definitely Washington had one of the oldest rosters, you look at a lot of our big name players, and they're actually on the younger side. And Peters said, well, we did that on purpose because you can't have too many 25-year-olds. You know what I mean? He's like, you need the young guys, but he's like, you can't have too many of them. You need, and basically hinting like you need some older people to kind of like, hey, don't do that, don't do that. Hey, cut that out. You know what I mean? I'm not kidding. You saw what
nah,
happened in Washington. They were all young. Gilbert and that other kid started pulling the guns out on each other.
that's
I'm
insane.
kidding. That's not just because that was just two foolish people, but still, you need vets in the locker room, kind of keep order.
I
So
get it. But yeah, I'm intrigued. Like I said, I'm intrigued to see Trae Young. Trae Young. Yeah, Trae Young. I was thinking Trae Johnson, but I actually said Trae Young. I'm intrigued to see Trae Young with Trae Johnson and Alex R. And the whole game. Like I really am intrigued, and like like my man Pastor Bobby said, shout out to First Baptist. I'm sorry, my apologies. Shout out to the Heights, baby. Um, he said the Jazz are like tanking hard, and they already been fined once 500K this season, so they're not really eager to be winning any games. Washington's at home; they're showcasing their star. I'm expecting a comfortable W for them, even with the minutes restriction. Like Eddie said, these Bamas are balling off the bench. Shout out to Will Rowley from Illinois. Shout out to my man Hardy. Yeah, the band was cooking. Oh, the Champagne Twin.
mhm.
Shout out to him. Julian, I believe, is the one we have.
Yeah.
Or yeah, shout out to Julian Champagne. A toast to him. And yeah, like we're excited to start getting ramped up to talk about some Wizards, man. Like I feel like this is a prequel to the 2026-27 season where um, I'm gonna keep it a buck.
No,
Why
we
not?
got Justin.
Let's go for 50. Let's go for 50 wins next season, young.
Well, and that's exactly what I'm saying. Like when I get excited that Trae Young's starting, and maybe we get one or two more wins, but I want to walk that tightrope because I want those wins because not of the win column, but what they represent. Because some sort of actual milestone be achieved. Think, those of you that play, Madden or 2K or whatever, you get X amount of completed passes in a row or X amount of shots made in a row or whatever, and it builds your character. That's it. That in so many ways, that's true in real life. You get these young kids to experience what it's like to having a Trae Young, like a floor general out there, and an Anthony Davis, who is an established NBA player and when healthy is one of the elites, a champion. You get those guys going and they show these young guys how to do it. And then what do the young guys do? They just start copying, but obviously like the good kind of copying, right? And now, before you know it, you got a whole team of guys just balling, just getting after it, just dogs. And so that's what I'm saying. Not this year, but for next year, but the direction we're heading. That's why I got that Bullets fever, record contract coming any day now. It's coming. It's coming. They
Them
all sign.
Bama's actually,
I'm gonna be
them
like that
Bama's actually.
so girl. Go ahead, my bad.
Nah, you're good. They actually played the Magic tonight, and did they win?
No, that was last night.
Oh no, that was last night, and they did not win.
They did
They
not.
lost by
The
17.
Magic are tough though.
Yeah,
Banchero, Suggs, Bane.
I have a thing that I've been doing this season. I go to Facebook and watch their Facebook videos after their opponent, after they beat their opponent, because they make a little funny video for it. So if I happen to do that, I'll make sure to tag you or send it to you so you can see it. But I'm pretty sure they're going to clown us, and that's okay.
Oh, this is the Magic you're talking about, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, the
Magic,
Orlando Magic.
funny video for their opponent. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
and
Yeah.
it's funny that you brought up the Wizards theme song, because they have their own theme song and it's kind of retro. So I think you'll enjoy it even at our expense. It's all good.
Do
We
you
want
believe
to lose. At least I want to lose. You say, do I believe in what?
there's an old song called "Do
Oh,
You"?
do I believe in magic?
That's what I was
You're
saying.
bad, guys. You're Bama.
Yes,
But
kid.
thank y'all, Bamas, for joining us this week on
We
Sport and
do
Convos with
appreciate it.
Eddie and Mike. Next week, probably 100% football. I ain't gonna hold y'all unless something big happen in basketball, because it will be the end of day one of free agency. So we will be going through tampering period an entire day of free agency. So Washington should have a lot of new players for us to discuss next week. And we'll do all that on Sport and Combos with Eddie and Mike. And one last word with my man Eddie, then we're gonna bounce up out of here.
Well, as I always say, check in on your folks. He's a little on the older side, and I think maybe as you per usual, we don't all always agree with politics, but Lou Holtz passed away. Uh, it's part of life, but it really seems like lately a lot of people are either
Yeah.
passing or getting some kind of bad news. Not to put him up there as some sort of like you know, legend or anything, but at the same time, I mean, Die Hard and all that, Bruce Willis, they're saying he's starting to kind of fade into some dementia and things like that.
Mhm.
But I don't want to, sit here and try to list every single celeb or athlete or whatever. It's just too many, and life's precious. So check in on your folks because we're here for a good time, not a long time, and you know, regrets a hard thing to live with. So we're glad that we have a little bit of your time to listen to us yap and say a bunch of nonsense. So thank you, and good morning, good night. You're welcome.